From an undisclosed locations for reasons of security and insecurity, we present tonight MnRTV Live Show with special guest Ira S. Pastor, bringing back the dead. Well, actually, it's bringing back near the dead, people that are brain dead. Is it possible to bring people who are brain dead? Well, Ira S. Pastor, with his latest works, will on the reestablishment of life after confirmed brain dead, will be talking about that. Is it possible? Do we have the technology to bring people that are almost dead back? That'd be wonderful, you know. I mean, I had an aunt back in 1998 that was brain dead, and we had to unplug her. God bless her soul, you know. But maybe if this was around, he could have saved her. We don't know. Maybe I'll have to ask him that. Hopefully. But before we get to the main topic and anything else, I introduce to you the one and the only, the coffee man himself, the madman, Mario. Welcome to the MnRTV Live Show, the co-host, and cheers, buddy.
Yes, it's good. We're back because we knew that there was something different that was going to happen with this whole YouTube and Hangout and all that. But you know what? We managed to pull it off, and we're back because that's where we go. We belong here. You know what we mean?
It was actually last week that we were testing it at this time to see, because now it's called YouTube Live. You know, that's how we broadcast. But basically, it's the same thing. It's all good, you know. And there's been a lot of action that's been going on since we were last away. Like Hillary Clinton, is it her clone that was collapsing, that was shaking? Is it her that's having Parkinson's disease? Is she demon possessed? There's a whole lot of questions, but not a whole lot of answers. And you know, that's what's been happening in the main news with Hillary Clinton. And we can't wait for the elections to see between Donald Trump and Hillary. But that's for later on.
Yes, but you know what? With all these, this is a lesson to be learned with all this YouTube. Never panic. Just wait and see, and let the dust fall into place, and then we're all fine. Like we're fine doing deals. But anyhow.
And let things fall where they may fall. But anyhow, so you're excited tonight to be getting our guest, Ira S. Pastor, to talk about raising the dead, if it's possible. Not raising the dead, but bringing back from near death.
Yes, I'm very excited. I'm also very excited to get the show in motion, get the wheels rolling, because he's only the guest. Ira is only going to come after and around half an hour-ish from now, which is 7:30. I mean, yeah, it's 8 o'clock. You see, I'm so.
No, 8:15.
Oh yeah, you see,
You're just too excited not to have our guest on, because all week we've been talking and speculating about our guest, all the questions we have, you know, and hopefully you will enjoy our special show tonight, you know. So anyhow, this show's been brought to you by the Montreal Anti-Illuminati Task Force, and let's get the show on the road, as they say. So
yes.
Mario, do your thing.
Yes, so this is me. This is Mario, the guy that's going to be talking and showing you what you need to know, what you need to see. In case you don't know, we're here to learn. We're all here to learn. So I'm going to be switching on over. So like that, I can do the introduction and we'll do what we do best. Right there, Robert?
That's right, exactly. So let's get it on the road, the show on the road.
Yeah, so remember, 8:15, our guest comes on.
That's
so
right.
I gotta be more sharp, but it's okay. So here she is, the MnR Productions Mariolaur, blogspot.ca, our beautiful blog, and it's right here, you know. And on the side there, you could see it shows all the past stuff that we've been up to. It's gonna make almost 10 years soon. The days are just going down real fast. Now, if you don't see this, just refresh, click there, and you'll see us live, like everybody else. And if you want to chat with us and the guest, you know, and tell us all what you need to know or whatever in your mind, you just come here, you type there, and you just tell us, you know, comment, questions, and everything. So here's the popular pictures of the week, well, for the past 2 weeks. So many good pictures that I had to trim down, get rid of. But, so here she is. Here's the pictures, the week.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm just chatting on on the YouTube chat. We have Diane next there, so I was just talking to her there. All right. Okay, let me see. Okay, right here. Nope, that's not it. Okay,
How to fool the public into thinking
okay, there. Okay, I'm back.
climate change. Starter pack.
How to fool the public into thinking they're causing climate change. Starter pack right there. What do you got? You've got cell phone towers, I believe. You've got mysterious. The second picture, it looks like some kind of Dr. Atlantean nuclear power plant or something. The third one is HARP, and the fourth one is chemtrails. Just the second one, I don't know what that is.
I don't know. It's out there to control our minds.
It looks like Spider-Man movies of Dr. Atlantean in the 60s, right?
Yeah, but it's probably there. We don't know. You know, that's the whole thing. They're trying to cover up everything. But that's what we're here for. We're here to uncover. Right there?
Okay, and now, yeah.
So we've all next. Now, because 9/11 was what, last week?
What are we today? The 24th? Yeah, it was about, yeah, it was
last week.
Yeah, last week. Yeah, when Hillary Clinton had her seizure or whatever there. Yeah. Iron Man TV series, The Grim Reaper wears a Teflon coat, 1994. And I used to watch Iron Man, but look at the second picture. And look at the fourth picture.
I know.
The top is in the Pentagon. Illuminati game from 1995. Notice the Teflon card. We have to get new Illuminati cards to see what they're up to or what they're planning. That's for sure.
Yeah, we should, but we have to order them.
I know.
Suivant next.
Right here it is. Little known fact, the Earth will never ever run out of fresh water due to the hidden fact that being over 70% water, it constantly regenerates fresh water deep within the Earth's crust in what is called the primary water cycle. This is what Gaddafi tapped into throughout Libya. The reason we were taught otherwise in our Rockefeller-owned educational system is simply due to the fact that you can make billions of dollars if you promote scarcity a commodity. Research primary water. Another lie. All they do is they lie.
Yes, water. Water. There's more water than Earth on this planet. So how could there be a shortage of water and be scarce?
They'll say there's what 2% fresh water that we can drink. Huh.
Suivant next. Yeah, but we could always make more. Like they do more money.
Yes, like this printing press. Print your own cash, go to jail. Own a bank and print untold trillions, then loan it out to collect obscene profits on the interest. Why? That's the American way. Yeah, it's the Illuminati way, the stupid way. They're smart, we're not, because we put up with such BS.
Just printing useless money. Suivant next. But we'll talk about money later on. So stick around.
Dave Wheeler, investigator at Sandy Hook. Dave Wheeler, morning of Sandy Hook. Cheap bastards couldn't hire more actors. I'm totally busted.
See, it's all the same actors.
It's the world's a grand stage. Like who was it that said that? I think it was William Shakespeare who said that.
Suivant next.
Satan played music in heaven before he fell. Don't let entertainment be your god. Yes. And we can all be guilty of that sometimes.
Yes, we just have to know what the hell we're listening to. Suivant next.
It's official, U.S. official at war, U.S. at war, troops to Vietnam. Well, Lusitania, Pearl Harbor, Gulf of Tonkin, 9/11. There's always a war going on, and there always will be. That's for sure.
Yeah, if you see it, the newspaper, you see they've always had.
Yeah.
See, they've always had, like, as soon as this happens, it's troops to Vietnam. As soon as 9/11 happened, there's always, question is what's next? That's the question. Now, since you like talking Hillary and Trump, right here.
Yeah, there is no Trump. It was all just a big show. It was just a show. And look, fear. And look what's Hillary's, of Donald Trump's lizard tongue right there. Fear, hate, lie, bully, brag, Trump-o-matic. And all of it, it's all a nice, it's just a nice theater to watch, just a nice play.
It's an act. It's like watching WCW wrestling at its best. You know, that's what it is. They're all on the same team and they're laughing at us and telling us what, you know, they're lies. Suivant next.
Okay, what exactly is Trump? An actor, a puppet, a facade? As with Hillary Clinton and all other political candidates, he follows a script and tells his followers exactly what they want to hear, reinforcing the illusion that politics is real. The entire drama is designed to keep the masses glued to their televisions in awe and anticipation of the unfolding political development, which are completely manufactured. Well, he seems to be enjoying himself right there, no?
But you know, a lot of people out there were saying Trump is better than Hillary, but you know, they're both Democrats at the end. So, you know.
Well, a lot of people in the Trudeau movement, they're going for Donald Trump. You know, I guess they figure he's better, the better of the two. But you know, Hillary, is she dying? Is it even Hillary, or is it a clone, a synthetic clone? And the clone is getting all loopy now. Apparently, she died. They saying she died that day, and now they replaced her. What's in a flu shot? I'm not even gonna pronounce all these things here, but yeah, it says if you wouldn't consume it, why inject it? Like there's formaldehyde in there. DNA.
Like they want to alter our DNA.
Like you see this, you see all these chemicals, right? Now you wouldn't take it, right? You saw this, you go, I'm not gonna take this, right? If you saw this on a bottle or on something, you'd say, no, I think I'll pass. But yet doctors want us to take flu shots. And in the end, it doesn't even do any better. It makes it worse.
Yeah, but wait a minute here. It's the doctors, yeah, but it's the big pharma pushing it on because the big pharma is like a big mobster. You know, they say you gotta give the flu shot, and we make the big bucks because it's all the money industry.
It's a big industry. Okay.
We've on next.
15 of the 19 hijackers on 9/11 were Saudi Arabian. Why we attack Afghanistan? And that's probably the most dumbest president there they've ever had.
I don't know. I can't comment about this. It's just, you know, so direct. Makes you wonder, makes you think. Suivant next. Oh yeah, Baphomet.
When this garbage spews up, when this garbage winds up on the shelves, the sheeple will be saying, duh, my name is George, duh. And they're actually selling this Barbie entertainment, the Baphomet right there. So some kids are actually going to buy this.
Sick world.
I mean, I don't want no statue of that. You?
No.
Or action figure.
No. I don't want it. I don't even want to see it. I mean, but they'll look at it and they'll want to worship him. That's the thing. Sad. Yeah. The same way people are worshiping themselves with them selfies. Look at this.
Yeah, what? WTF? 100 likes. And then she strips open her top and whew. I almost thought I wasn't pretty anymore. She got 2,000 likes.
Yeah, the more skin you show, the more likes you get. Isn't that what it's all coming down to? Sick world.
It's funny. It's actually pathetic that people have to do that, you know, but I don't know.
It's all attention.
Yeah, and social media does not help.
Speaking of social media, all these pictures can be found both on Conspiracy Talks on Facebook and on Facebook, the Conspiracy Talk on Facebook and the Conspiracy Talk on Google Plus. And here's the one on Facebook, of course. Now, if you want to know how to watch our show in the future, because I've had a few people this week asking me, how do I get to watch your show? And they said, and then I tell them very simple, just go on the Conspiracy Talk and right here, you click here and you see us live. You bring you right there to our wonderful blog. And this group is just keeping on getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the second, right?
Yeah, exactly. And hi, Susie. It's been a long time. Susie X is in the
Oh,
chat.
she's back. All right. You have any comments to say about our wonderful the conspiracy talk? Oh, yes. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Look
she's
at all
asking if the toy,
these.
Mario. She's asking if the toy's for real. The
I,
Baphomet.
I think so. Don't be surprised. It's like, well, we'll be talking about stuff that doesn't seem so real, like what happened. Well, we'll be talking about in the news, and you'll see if it's for real. I think it is for real because we're getting in a sick world. Hi there, Susie. I'm glad you're back. But we'll be talking about something that concerns Baphomet in in our news, right? Because there's something that was brought to
Yes.
our attention, and we'll be talking about it once we get there. But now we're going to be talking about something very hugely that happened this
Right
week.
there.
Yes, look at
Monsanto.
this.
Monsanto stocks up. Bayer purchases for $66 billion. Wow. Oh, $66 billion. They bought up stock. So now Bayer is going to be controlling.
Yeah, because it says it right here. You see this?
Yeah, it says Monsanto agreed to be purchased by Bayer for $66 billion or $1.28 per share in an all-cash deal. Who would want to buy a company like that?
So that means Monsanto is no longer. It'll be Bayer.
I don't know. All I know is it's not good. Maybe now they want to change companies. Now names, maybe they want to try because everybody's after Monsanto. So I think now we're all gonna have to go after Bayer.
And you know how big Bayer is? I wonder if it says here, well, what exactly Bayer.
Yeah, it says the St. Louis German chemical pharmaceutical company for $66 billion in cash for $1.28 per share. Bayer will finance the deal using a combination of debt and equity. The company said in a statement, the deal still requires approval from regulatory agencies and Monsanto shareholders. This represents a major step forward to our crop science business and reinforce Bayer's leadership position as a global innovation-driven life science company with leadership position in its core segments, says Bayer CEO Warren Baumann in a statement. Okay, so now we know what they're up to.
Monsanto, eh?
Yeah, the two companies expect to close the deal in 2017.
And you know what Bayer makes? They make all kinds of pharmaceutical stuff, garbage.
Yeah, they do. They make all kinds of yeah, like you said. Yeah, don't they make Tylenol or some kind of aspirin? That's
yeah, they do. They make aspirin or whatever. But you know what? This goes to show you that they're all the same thing. Big pharma companies and Monsanto, they're all there to, genetically modify the people.
Exactly. Yeah, they do.
Poison.
It says in the chat room that they make aspirin, a prescription drug, very expensive. Watch them make aspirin. Yeah. Oh boy, I'm telling you, things are getting worse by the minute.
Okay, now the next one. This is another thing that killed me. When I saw this during the weekend. Hold on there, Robbie. Let me just make it a little bit bigger if I can, because we want to see him better. Yeah. There we go. Here we go.
Okay, well, here we have Bill Gates with Bono of U2. And if you're saying, what the heck are they doing together? And it says it right here. Billionaire philanthropist Bill Gates and Bono exchanged laughs during a session at the Global Fund Conference Saturday, September 17, 2016 in Montreal, where we're at, in Montreal. Trudeau Gates raises billions for AIDS, TB, and malaria fights. TB, I guess tuberculosis, Mario?
Yeah. But
yeah.
You know what? These are the ones that are making. Isn't Gates part of the depopulation and making viruses and making antiviruses and here he is. He wants to raise billions. Why doesn't he give some of his billions to stop this, but he probably created all this, or he's probably one of the reasons why this exists.
He creates all kinds of stuff, and he creates cheap ass computers that never work. There's always a problem with it, you know. I mean, perfect. I mean, that's what he wants. He wants to have every house to have a desktop computer. That's what he said back in the 80s. And now we all have this, a smartphone, and soon they're going to put this in our bodies. It's slowly. That's what they want to do to control all of us.
Yeah, but Windows is a virus. That's why you need an antivirus. So he did that. The same applies to these things. I bet you he did all these. He did AIDS and tuberculosis and malaria.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look.
Trudeau made the announcement. That's Justin Trudeau. That's our Prime Minister in Canada. For folks that we might not know, Trudeau made the announcement on the second and final day of the International Donors Meeting as Microsoft's founder Bill Gates, frontman Bono, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and others gathered in Montreal to determine how to replenish the major global health funds that combats AIDS and 2/3 of the world's leading killers in low-income countries. It's too bad we were working that day. We could have went outside and protest.
There would have been the only two, because all the rest are sheeples and they don't care. But you know what? Look at all these people here. Trudeau, globalist. Bill Gates, globalist. U2 frontman Bono. I'm sure he's a globalist. And these guys, UN secretary, another globalist. So this was a globalist convention that happened. And you know what happened in that day to overshadow all this? People are too busy watching the World Cup of hockey.
That and also, if it's not sports, they're watching Hillary, wondering what's going on with her. Gates increased his individual commitment by 20% to $600 million. The U.S., the biggest donor, is contributing up to $4.3 billion. Oh, that's a lot of money. A lot of money. And it's all for control, and it's all lies. They don't want to make us better. They want to make everything worse.
They want to depopulate. Why would they be wanting to take care of this? This is all a big lie. What are they really up to? You got to ask yourself that question.
Exactly. What are they up to? They're up to no good, that's for sure.
Because all these bacteria and diseases, they're all made in the labs. So that's our safe for the earth. Man, there's so much action in this tango. Look at this. Wow. I love it. All right.
Okay, right there. Next one.
So we've got next, coming up next, and then she's coming up right here, and it's concerning.
U.S. government finally admits marijuana really does kill cancer cells.
So they've had that big meeting last week. Well, the prior article that we had, the news bit, when all they had to do was just save a whole lot of money. Look at this. You know,
it's unreal, eh?
Look at the earth.
I know.
This can probably cure all that. The earth.
Exactly. The idea that cannabis kills cancer cells seems to no longer be conspiracy theory in the U.S. With this information, can they state legitimately say no to medical marijuana? Or it could be considered a preventive herb to avoid getting cancer. Amy Willis with Metro says that the U.S. government has added a page on the use of cannabis and cannabinoids to the official cancer advice website. Willis's advice: the National Cancer Institute, part of the U.S. Department of Health, now advises that cannabinoids may be useful in treating the side effects of cancer and cancer treatment by smoking, eating it in baked products, drinking herbal teas, or even spraying it under the tongue. The official government site has a long list of medicinal use of cannabis, including anti-inflammatory, yeah, that's good, activity, pain relief, that's good, anti-anxiety, oh yes, stress relief, anti-tumor, antiviral activity, and relieving muscle spasms caused by multiple sclerosis, and many, many more. This site goes on to talk about how cannabis has been proven to destroy cancer cells in lab experiments. Well, I'm not going to read it all, but this pretty interesting information right here.
And they had a big conference wasting our money on what? When they could just turn to deals that will cure everything.
I told you, it's just BS, that conference that they had.
It's sad. It's very sad.
Yes.
Very, very sad. Now, there's something I want to talk about. Let's see now. Yes. Wait a second. Okay. Yes. Do you see this?
I see it.
Okay. Notice what it says here. 1 ounce fine gold, $50, right?
Right.
Now, this right here explains why our money that we work so hard for is worth just paper, because it doesn't say, none of our money says fine gold, silver, backed by silver. This one is real here. So we're all working for paper or plastic that's not worth anything.
And now it's more like electronic money on a computer screen.
So you know our money. Yeah, I know. It's all digits anyways. Like you were saying, it's all digits, right? That's what you're trying to say?
Pardon?
It's all digits.
Yeah, it's all digits, all blips on a computer screen that they can wipe out any time. And
No,
it's a mistake. They could wipe it out any time.
You know what? I found a whole bunch of coins that were like from the 70s and 80s. You know what they're worth?
No.
Nothing. You know why? Because they weren't made out of real silver or gold. So that put, you just think, oh boy, if that's what that is, then what about our money? It's because they're just put value to it. It's practically like monopoly money. You know, it's up to the person that loses to say game over. What happens when it's game over? The money, you know, doesn't stand for anything. It's like it falls like a pack of cards, right?
Exactly. It just topples down like dominoes and just collapses onto itself, which I'm sure will happen one day with the way the economy is.
But the money, it's people have to wake up, man. We're all dying. We're all killing ourselves. For what?
I know. And it's just getting worse.
Now there's the next one that's popping up. This is concerning Baphomet in a way, and you know, and someone brought this up.
Yeah, Arch, that was a gateway to the Temple of Baal, is going up in New York City's City Hall Park on Monday, which was last Monday. We tend to think that we are vastly more advanced than the pagan idol worshippers of the ancient world, but is that really the case? If you tried to put a large cross in a public park in New York City, there would be lawsuits flying all over the place. But apparently an ancient pagan arch that served as a gateway to the Temple of Baal is no problem. On Monday, September 19, a reconstructed version of Palmyra's Arch of Triumph, also known as the Monumental Arch, will be erected in New York City. Specifically, it will be located in City Hall Park in Manhattan. The organization behind the project is known as the Institute for Digital Archaeology, and they have confirmed the location and the date on their official website. So imagine that.
So if they made statue of Baphomet, right? Anything is possible.
Yeah.
Like they could do deals.
They could just do about anything, you know. And what does it say here? Yeah, that there was a statue here that was destroyed by ISIS. Right there, okay. And there's the map right there.
Temple of Baal.
Baal and Baal, that we find the Bible were once and the same. Here is more from Wikipedia. Baal was a lord of masters, a title rather than a genuine name applied to various gods in the Mesopotamian religion of Akkad, Assyria, and Babylonia. Back in April, the arch that stood directly in front of the Tower Baal was supposed to be up in Times Squares. But fortunately, that project was ultimately cancelled. A reproduction of the Arch of Triumph, the arch described in this article, was put in Trafalgar Square in London at the time, and there were rumblings that a reproduction of the Arch of Triumph would also come to New York at a later date. Unfortunately, this has now become a reality. Well, the truth is that Baal is mentioned in the Bible more than 100 times. A very high percentage of current world religions can be traced directly back to this ancient deity and to ancient Babylon, and the practices involving ancient Baal worship eerily to things that go on in our society today.
Anyways,
It goes on.
Let's go on. Yeah, I mean, but you know, it's like this is the problem.
It all leads down to Satan.
And this is the problem: liberalization, modern. That's why we're getting all this.
Yeah, exactly.
Now look at this. I don't picture that happening because that's sad and it's sick.
They killed the babies by the thousands, but we have killed our babies by the millions. All kinds of stuff going on. Yeah. Not good at all.
We're living in the last days, right?
We certainly are. Seems this way.
What do you folks out there think?
Let us know in the chat room what you guys think. Okay.
Chatango. Yes, Chatango. Another one about the Pope.
Pope reveals NASA's secrets about God and Planet X. Very interesting article here that we have right here. In 1980, Pope John Paul II spoke in regards to the third secret of Fatima. For decades, Christians have always been prying at the secret. To this day, they still don't have a solid answer. However, the Pope and his bishops were able to confirm that the third secret lies with a loss of faith. NASA's discovery of Planet X represents this loss of faith. This could mean the end of God and religion worldwide. Pope predicts NASA's discovered Planet X. God is disappearing. In the third secret of Fatima, the Pope not only predicts the Earth will see a loss of faith in coming years, but also a large celestial body will cloud our planet. While NASA has not confirmed that Planet X is on a direct crash course with Earth, many speculate such a scenario. More realistically, perhaps it is the advancement in science which leads to disbelief in God. The Pope is hiding NASA's Planet X info to protect God. You probably haven't heard much about the Vatican in regards to Planet X. This is because they are being particularly secretive about NASA's large discovery. The Vatican has been using mainstream media as a cover-up to quietly release their take on the matter, so it doesn't get much publicity. They know about the presence of extraterrestrials on the planet, also called Nibiru, could mean the end for God. Science and religion have never gotten on that well, but now science is taking the upper hand. Pope needs to change the image of God to fit NASA and Planet X. The discovery of life of Nibiru could go two ways. For one, it could mean the devastation of religion as we know it. Alternatively, the Catholic Church could make some edits where science suddenly fits into their agenda. If they somehow alter the story, a new, truthful plot could be woven into the Bible. For many, religion is the only thing that keeps things going on every day. If that institution were to collapse, society might go along with it. The Vatican would be wise to keep an open mind, but they certainly do know a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the Vatican and NASA, which keeps hiding stuff, right?
NASA never straight answer, exactly.
Yes, there is a telescope called Lucifer, but it's an abbreviation of something. And it's actually not the telescope, it's a piece of the telescope that's called the
Lucifer, yeah, there is.
Yeah, but it's a piece of a telescope. It's not the telescope itself.
Exactly. There is a telescope, a piece called Lucifer, and of all names, that's what they call it. The Vatican calls it Lucifer. So it just goes to show you, it put out the information in public site.
The next one.
DARPA and adjacent scientists, the Pentagon's maladaptive brain. Operation Paperclip and Area 51 are just beginning as secrets of the DARPA continues. An uncensored look into DARPA, the US government's secretive agency, reveals exactly how the brain of the military-industrial complex operates. Utilizing the super scientific intellects of men, the agency may have stumbled upon the ultimate code to utterly control the human race, making all other DoD achievements pale in comparison. DARPA's arm reached far and wide, touching universities, small businesses, the public of course, and the establishment media. Despite its collaborative success, the brain running the show is acutely flawed, for its aim is not to protect and serve but to control. As George Orwell once pointed out, all the war propaganda, all the screaming and lies and hatred comes inevitably from people who are not fighting. It comes from the minds of men hell-bent on creating a controllable population through the New World Order. DARPA has been credited with creating the Internet, global positioning satellites, which is GPS, and its investigative journalist Ann Jacobson described it the future. For anyone who has lurked on DARPA's page, the only hint at the sci-fi reality that lists of alphabet agencies it employs creates, Operation Paperclip and Area 51, are just the beginning of secrets that DARPA continues to smother while creating bullets that can change directions mid-flight, high-energy liquid laser systems and robotic-packed animals, flying trucks and drones that can stay airborne for years. But even though they do not reveal the true workings of the Pentagon's dysfunctional aims supported by the adjacent scientists. So folks, we do know that DARPA, they're the ones that are probably creating the super soldier, the super chemicals, the super weapons to one day be turned against us by the New World Order.
It's pretty scary when you think about it.
Yeah, it sure is.
But look at this. This article has everything from Bilderberg's
Illuminati,
the New World Order.
Exactly. So you can just imagine.
Look at that. Soon we won't program computers. We will train them like dogs. It's like very, very sick when you think about it. It's like it makes us man look like we're obsolete, but but don't get that wrong. We're not obsolete. Man has always been modern, right?
It's what they want to do to us.
They want us to think that, they want us to think that we're obsolete, but we're not obsolete. We will never be obsolete. Man is very important, right?
Exactly. That's right.
We are uncreatable. So the last but not least news bit, because before Trish wants to come on,
Yeah, UFO sightings 2016, alien ships sucking sun's energy resources. NASA on no comments mode about videos. NASA has been in the middle of several controversies for covering up information about UFOs and alien life. A recent image captured by the Solar and Hemispheric Observatory, SOHO, shows a massive object near the sun, but again, NASA chooses to remain mum on the matter.
There's a beautiful song.
NASA has been in the middle of some controversy. Yeah, I read that. Okay. This year has been truly the year of UFO sightings. At numerous instances and places, eyewitnesses spotted UFOs all over the world. According to early reports, UFOs were spotted in Washington as well as in France by eyewitnesses. Now, a recent photo has surfaced that was taken by the SOHO, and the photos show a massive object around the sun, which is reported to be an alien spacecraft. It is speculated by UFO enthusiasts that the spacecraft is possibly draining the sun's energy resources to multiply their crafts. However, another section of alien life enthusiasts feel that the spacecraft, so they're just fueling itself with solar energy. Notably, NASA has not commented and is speculated that the space agency's attempt in covering up the facts about the existence of UFOs. And there's a video you can see on YouTube about this. So yeah, there you go. And never straight answer. That's NASA for you, covering up because they are owned and controlled by the New World Order.
So Trish is dying to come on and make her mark, her wonderful mark, right?
We'll be back with our guest, Ira S. Pastor, when we come back from our short little break. Don't go anywhere.
Yes, so please don't go anywhere. The fun is just beginning, right?
That's right.
I mean, we want to know what we got to know about our guest. Let me just make it a little bit bigger so like that people out there can see it. And I wish they could see it, but it seems like there's no way of making it bigger. So I'll just have to shrink it down and have Trish listen. So here she is. Here. Oh no. Hold on. Trish is having a little problem now. So here she is. Here's Trish.
Regeneration and repair are widespread phenomena in the biological kingdom, but the capacity varies among species. Both amphibians and invertebrates can replace lost or damaged organs and tissues that are identical in structure and function to the original, regenerating a wide variety of tissues including spinal cords, limbs, hearts, eyes, and even parts of their brains. In a similar fashion, many of these species possess fascinating skills for repairing and reversing cellular and genetic damage. Cancer, as an example, is found to be extremely rare in tissues of species displaying an efficient regenerative mechanism, even under the action of carcinogens. In many cases, when cancer does occur, tumors have been found to spontaneously remodel and integrate into their surroundings as normal, healthy tissue. Unfortunately for humans, the situation is very different. In most instances, the structure or function of an organ will not be restored after tissue damage, and is often replaced by scarring. Additionally, while humans do possess robust DNA repair mechanisms, these capabilities are diminished substantially over time as we age. Extensive study into the regeneration and repair mechanisms of non-human species have found them to be intricately connected to an underlying capability of complex tissue reprogramming and remodeling. These capabilities represent a biological regulatory state reset, whereby damage is erased in cells, followed by their redirection into a developmental program, where they become reintegrated with their microenvironment cellular neighbors, and reorganized via a community effect along tissue, organ and positional specificity. While many of these species possess these reprogramming and remodeling capabilities throughout their lifetimes, the last and only time at which humans experience such potential is during the brief period following fertilization, when egg and sperm first come together. And then it is gone. Ira Clark? S mission is to bring these capabilities back for therapeutic application in humans.
Yes, thank you very much, Trish. What could we do without you, you know? The voice of the MnRTV Live Show.
That's right. Exactly. Oh, for sure. And it's gonna be wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful hearing her voice every week, and we get all kinds of people always wanting her to come on our show.
Yes, I mean, everybody wants to listen to Trish out there, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. For sure, you know, and we can't wait, you know, I mean, to have her come on the show. I mean, every week people ask about her, and it's wonderful having her.
Just like now, we're all excited to have our guest on tonight, Ira, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
I mean, I've always wanted to know about stem cells, and it's very intriguing, you know, if there's anything out there that can help us humans get better, and you know, why not? If it's gonna help us to advance, you know.
Of course. I mean, in life, things have to be done, you know, to be able to advance into society. Because when we advance into society, but do we really want to? You know, I mean, the thing is, we want to live longer, but do we really want to live longer? I mean, I guess it's good if people are dying brain dead and they come back, as long as they're in good condition, not in worse condition.
The thing is it's like if we're destined to die, do we wanna come back? You know, if we're destined, if that's our destiny, why would we be playing around with our destiny?
Exactly, for sure. Okay. Okay, so let me see. He says he's offline, but let me try and contact him.
Yeah, you never know. Hopefully, he can come on and we can get the show on the road because, you know, I feel like it's been so long we haven't done a show. It feels like it's almost a full year that we haven't done a show, you know, and
Like that.
feels good to be doing a show.
Hold on. Ira, Ira, Mr. Pastor, welcome to the MnRTV Live Show.
Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful having you. And will you care to tell us a bit about yourself, exactly your work? Because a lot of our viewers right now are very interested about this. They've never heard of it.
Sure. Just a little background. I'm Ira S. I am a 30-year veteran of the traditional pharmaceutical industry, and I spent most of my career in either some aspect of big pharma or as a provider of services or a customer too. So I've spent most of my time here, and it's the basic industry that I've known the last few decades. I'm currently the CEO of a regenerative medicine company called Mariolaur, which is focused on basically going back to nature and understanding those species that are excellent at regenerating things like spinal cords and limbs and complex organs, and figuring out how they do what they do so well, and ultimately through the use of novel biologic drugs, kicking these capabilities back up to humans, where we as a species are very poor at regenerating anything. Normally when us as humans goes through some type of severe trauma, anything we have beyond simple tissues is primarily replaced with scar tissue, and we do not get structure or function back. And that is the general scope of what we have been doing at Mariolaur, not just on the regeneration side, but also looking at the amazing ability of these same species to repair damage to cells and tissue once it's occurred. An example of what we're looking at here is the fascinating ability of little organisms to basically turn cancer and tumors into normal tissue. They approach cancer and surviving cancer much differently than we do as humans. They don't rely on a direct kill mechanism, but focus instead on just taking that cancerous tissue and converting it into normal tissue. And that is another focus of what we're involved in. And most recently, we have embarked upon a rather exciting and somewhat controversial program involving the study of these regenerative mechanisms in recently deceased human subjects. Because one of the areas that is lesser well known in the lower regenerative kingdom is that many species, certain amphibians and planarians and what have you, can regenerate their brain and brain stem after substantial trauma that would kill either you or me. And sort of this understanding of complex regeneration of the higher nervous system and the ability that does exist in nature that's been known about for 100 years now, we have begun to explore, take the very early steps of exploring how we can merge this together with another discipline known as living cadaver research, which not many people are familiar with, but it does exist as a legitimate and ethical form of research in today's world, to begin to understand complex regeneration of the higher nervous system in somebody that has met the current criteria for death today, known as brain death.
Wow, that's incredible. How did you find out about how did you find stem cells to begin with? Were you ever like a doctor, scientist? Is this your field?
Well, I've as a undergraduate, I studied pharmacy and then went to business school, and I spent most of my career on the business development side of the industry. But I interfaced a lot with R&D, and I had to in these particular roles. And what I ultimately found was that there was a lot more fascinating science out there in the healthcare industry than technology that was actually being developed from it. And I wanted to do something. After a while, once I got tired of big pharma and selling the same old products that were only treating the symptoms of disease, I wanted to get into something a little more cutting edge and really begin to explore why we as an industry that generates $1 trillion a year can't cure any of the chronic degenerative diseases that are responsible for our suffering and ultimate death. And this really led me into a whole new area of biological science and the life sciences, looking at areas that really aren't touched upon by the traditional pharma industry anymore, like regenerative biology, like studying non-human species, and really bringing in specialists that can merge these capabilities together, as opposed to the way the industry typically is laid out today, where everything is done in silos and not a lot of people sort of cross-pollinate the knowledge that is out there. And that was the basis for my interest in getting involved here. Really looking at this point in my career to move beyond the status quo. I enjoyed the pharmaceutical industry. I'm technically part of it. In sense, I am involved in biotech, but I really view what we're doing in terms of regenerative medicine and applications of regenerative biology as a frontier that is a little bit beyond the status quo.
So what else besides the brain can you replace the brain? Can you grow like teeth or something?
Well, the field has gotten very good at growing a lot of individual cell types that can make up these tissues. What we are focusing on is how you bring the signals in that tell those cells what to become. And this is one of the issues that sort of, stem cells is an example. They've been around for the last few decades now. But the biggest problem they've had is the directions. It's like, having a bunch of bricks, but not having the blueprints or the foreman to decide how to build the house. And ultimately, that was the piece that we wanted to bring to the table with our technologies, ultimately to bring those signals via biologic methods back to say, well, what goes here is a heart, and a heart is made up of many different types of cells, and it's such and such size. It can't be the size of a walnut. It can't be the size of a watermelon. It has to be centered in your chest, and so forth. And this was what we thought was a really major missing component of this whole space. So yes, we have worked on regenerating neural tissues. We have worked on pancreatic tissue. And then we've been very active, aside from the CNS, of course, in oncology, in studying reversion dynamics of tumors, and basically looking at how, with this same capability, we can move beyond the concepts of chemotherapy and radiation and kill-centric methodologies that have sort of been the basis for trillions of dollars of the war on cancer, and sort of looking at cancer not as something that you kill, but as something you change. And so these are major components of our research program. The last component, which is, we look at it more as a side effect of anything, is that because we are working with cellular reprogramming and technically turning back biologic time in tissues and cells at the genetic and epigenetic level to start the development process over. We inherently are running into the fact that we are making tissues younger by their very nature. And so, while we are not positioning what we do sort of as an anti-aging technology at this point, there clearly are implications to the reversal of biologic aging that we feel are going to be a very promising sort of side component to this research.
Because if you're trying to do this like a cure for most cancers or whatever, has there been anybody that's been trying to stop it, like governments and people like that?
No, I've having been around the industry for a while now, I know and I've experienced most of the roadblocks that can be out there, and most of them have to do not with a government agency or anything that doesn't want something to happen per se. It just has to do with the way regulations are currently set up. As an example, in cancer, the drug development regulations, for instance, in the United States, are very standardized towards developing what I'll refer to as single magic bullets or single silver bullets that do one thing or kill in one specific way. At this point in the war on cancer, now that we're 50 or so years into it, we realize that's not the way to get things done. Cancer is not just one disease. It can be hundreds of different types of disease, and it has to be addressed via a variety of different approaches. Yet when you take a new drug through development in the United States nowadays, the system is set up so that you can only have sort of one mechanism, a mode of attack for approval. The answer, we believe, and that's why our research program has gone in this direction, is creating biologics and other types of drugs that hit multiple pathways simultaneously, much more of a shotgun than a sort of sniper bullet. And this is the only way you're going to be able to address such complex diseases that are complex in nature. And so those are some of the types of roadblocks that exist basically due to the structure of the industry. But having been around it enough, I'm pretty confident how to navigate it with the right regulatory mechanisms.
Now, the thing is, what happens to the memory of people that have dead brain cells with new brain cells? Can they remember who they are, or is there a new personality that comes out?
Well, that's an excellent question. It's probably the most fascinating, if not more fascinating, than the very topic of death reversal. We as a company and a research program have put our bets that your consciousness and your memory is much more than just the few ounces of material inside your skull. Half the world of sort of cognitive biosciences says that you are your connectome, the 100 billion neurons and trillions of connections inside your brain. There's another school of thought that says, well, that's just part of it, that memory and consciousness is much more of a process of relating to things, to your environment, to your body, and to the external world. We are taking that approach, and several things have guided us in this direction. Number one just has to do with the vast amount of studies over the years that have shown that species whose brains you can destroy, which grow back, retain memory. This has been well documented for decades now. Add to that the very fact that while we think of the brain as being sort of this static organ, the truth is you go through many brains in a lifetime. Your brain tissue turns over a tremendous amount of times during your life, not to mention the chemicals in each neuron in your brain that turn over thousands of times within a lifetime. So you're actually running through many brains, yet you are retaining information from your earliest point in childhood. Then there are the issues of the many disorders that the sort of connectome centric model just cannot explain in modern medical science. It cannot explain things like terminal lucidity in Alzheimer's patients. It cannot explain the fact that children that are born without a cortex that have consciousness. And so many other dynamics of this nature. And lastly, and we like to point this out because we don't think about it as much, but we have to remember that neurons came late. Neurons came later, and that there were species, and these species that don't have brains today, that never had a brain, that communicate electrochemically. So we have to keep in mind, and there's some fascinating work. I suggest listeners to check out what's going on at Tufts right now at Michael Levin's lab, looking at non-central nervous system tissues and information storage. I think that programs like what we're embarked upon are going to help us to elucidate a lot more about our understanding of consciousness and memory. And I think the things that we are going to be finding out as a result of such a program will be somewhat earth-shaking and
Have you ever tried a stem cell treatment on people that have multiple sclerosis?
No, we do not have a multiple sclerosis program currently in-house. However, we feel that while we studied traumatic brain injury, we have studied Alzheimer's models, Parkinson's. We feel that a lot of the learnings ultimately that are going to trickle down in terms of basic neurodegeneration from the Anima project will hit most CNS disorders anyway. So we ultimately look at the central nervous system, whether we're talking about Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, ALS, what have you, or acute injury, traumatic brain injury, coma, persistent vegetative state, and other disorders of consciousness as all being within our potential basket of targets.
One of my viewers has a question. Where do you get these stem cells from?
Well, stem cells are just part of the project. We currently only work with adult stem cells, mesenchymal stem cells from peripheral blood or adipose fat tissue. But that's only part of our program. We view the stem cells, as we mentioned, as bricks in a process. The mortar is what we are bringing to the table with regard to our peptide program. So we also work with, as exciting as stem cells are, there is a equally, if not more exciting cell, and that is the egg cell that produced them in the first place. And what we are doing with egg cells are capturing the biologic instructions that create the stem cells in the first place and ultimately guide them what they should become. Egg cells are fascinating in the context that they are what are responsible for creating stem cells in the first place. They are responsible for resetting cellular age. They are responsible for cleaning up genetic and epigenetic damage. So we are combining in our program both of these approaches, the bricks, but also the mortar and the blueprints, ultimately, that guide the system.
Oh wow, that's so. Is for all of this, is there a cost to all of this? If someone wants to get this done, like if they know someone that needs this to be done, is there a price to this, and how much would it be?
Well, we at this point, I mean, what we can say because we're rather early on in the development process, but everything we are doing is based on existing biopharmaceutical and pharmaceutical tools. So nothing, we're not doing any genetic engineering. We are not doing any gene therapy. We are not doing any hybridization of tissues. So nothing we're doing is going to come with some of the exorbitant price tags that you see in the press nowadays, like these $1 million gene therapies. Everything that we are going to be doing is going to be priced along the lines of traditional biologics. So you can imagine anything, depending on the course of a therapy, it may run from hundreds of dollars to several thousands of dollars, but nothing in the realm of some of these more complex interventions that are trying to get out of the lab nowadays, and at least trying to get someone to pay for them. But are cost prohibitive. So one very positive thing in the sense that we've taken a biologic drug development approach as opposed to a gene therapy approach or a genetic engineering approach is going to be beneficial to the much wider population.
Will stem cells ever help people to see better one day? Is that possible?
Stem cells are going to help in a lot of diseases, and seeing better, there's been some positive steps going forward in diseases like macular degeneration. But our underlying theme and what we espouse is that unless you have the right signals to tell those new cells what to become, you're not going to get as far as they would by themselves, and that's why we are applying a more what we'll call a combinatorial or integrated approach. We have to remember that whatever, as wonderful and clean and vibrant as stem cells are, they usually take on the properties of the tissue they're put into. And a lot of this study goes back decades to the original sort of cross-transplantation transplantation studies with stem cells that show that as young stem cells into an older body, they usually take on an older phenotype. And so what we are espousing, and it's a major part of what we're pushing in our program, is that you've got not only to add stem cells, but you have to condition the environment that they're going into to take on a younger, healthier phenotype to become that tissue. Otherwise, we are just going to be recapitulating more of the wound healing processes that humans are so good at, and that's not what we want. So yes, I mean, definitely we see the ability of eyesight improvement, reversal of blindness, everything that goes along the whole area of ophthalmology as being impacted by these types of technology, sure.
How long will this be before we can do all of this? Is there a time frame?
Our time frame is we have several programs in our plan, which is a 3 to 5 year horizon for the United States in terms of different orphan indications in the kidney and certain oncology indications. We do not see, I know obviously my industry or my previous industry has been very good at 20-year time frames for developing things. We think based on the nature of what we're doing here, we're not looking for long-term chronic use just for treatment of symptoms, but the fact we're looking to impact disease early, that this will be much shorter timelines. But once again, it's going to have to come back to the right application of therapies and the right combinations. We don't think stem cells alone can do it. And that's why we're taking the strategy that we are.
What are your views on pills and medication?
Pills and medication in terms of traditional, what we'll call small molecule organic drugs, have made the industry very wealthy. $1 trillion is a big number. The problem is you cannot affect a disease process with small molecule drugs. You can affect outputs of that disease. So you can affect inflammation, you can affect thrombosis, cell growth, and many of the outputs that the industry likes to look at. And that's fine. Those are called treatments. But if you want to reverse a disease, if you want to take state B and turn it back to state A, where a cell was not diabetic or was not degenerating or was younger, you need more than just a small molecule chemical. Chemicals are very good for treating, in our opinion, with the exception of the antibiotic, not very good at curing anything.
One of my viewers has a question. Do you freeze any brains to extend life? Are you doing that? Freezing a brain?
No, we are, while we do run in the same circles as people involved in cryobiology that are studying sort of the connectome with brain slices and studying whole brain preservation, we are not we don't have that bandwidth, but we can know from those that do the basic research on whole brain preservation to even folks that are in the cryonics space. We are familiar with the different types of technologies out there and sort of their capabilities in today's world.
Are you able to work with the DNA?
We work with our main focus with DNA. As I mentioned, we don't do genetic engineering, so we're not doing anything with DNA at that level. But what we are very involved in is DNA damage correction, which is, again, something egg cells are very good at. Both genetic damage and epigenetic damage, so the changes that occur outside of the DNA structure. These are the main reasons we all get sick and die. This genetic and epigenetic type of damage. And it is the reason why, for the fingers, all of our children, when they are born, are not typically born with the chronic degenerative diseases older age. Babies are not typically born with Alzheimer's disease or congestive heart failure or Parkinson's. And the reason for this is that egg cells are so very good at resetting age and also cleaning up the genetic damage of the new genome. So we find it fascinating, not just the ability for correcting the epigenetic damage that normally yields disease in us, but also genetic damage. There is a natural phenomena of gene correction that does exist in many tissues in nature. So this is our interest in terms of DNA and how we can use some of these natural abilities that exist, and we challenge them and we target them towards correcting adult tissues.
Oof, wow, that's amazing. I've read like on previous interviews that you have, or you're looking for 20 patients. Can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, I mean, the initial protocol for what we call the Reanima Project was set up for only 20 patients in that particular center. The goal of that study, and well, it got a lot of press and a lot of hype was out there in terms of zombies and so forth. It was a very basic living cadaver study focusing solely on subjects that have met the brain death criteria but are still on life support, hence the living cadaver definition. We were not working with any catastrophic forms of brain death in terms of a war zone. We were not dealing with any time-sensitive brain death in terms of a murder victim that may have been found days later. And we weren't dealing with brain death as a sequelae of a chronic disease. So we were not looking to work with an older subject that may have metastatic cancer. So it was solely to look at that particular dynamic and figure out how we could begin with these models, with the technology we have available today, how we could begin to start to study regeneration and ultimately, keep our fingers crossed, at some point in the near future, blur the lines between what is considered death today and deep coma. So that, we've just recently gotten approval for that protocol. It's 20 patients, and it's specifically going to be focused on an area in northern India. These patients, obviously, subjects typically, it's very expensive to move them around. So we would not be looking to recruit from far away, but we definitely are, and we've been speaking to neurocritical care specialists in many countries now looking to duplicate the protocol elsewhere because we feel that the more scientific minds in this area that are working on it, the faster the results will come.
So one day, will these patients ever become like better? Will not be brain dead anymore, and they'll be able to function like normal human beings? Is that what you're looking for?
That is the goal. It's not the goal of this first study.
Okay.
Obviously, we have a proxy in humans and nature. It takes 9 months for a cell to become a fully functional brain. This is just an initial step in that direction. But yes, ultimately, we have examples in nature of species whose brains can be blown apart, and reform in both structure and function. That is ultimately a goal. Will it happen tomorrow? No. Will it happen within the next few years? It's very possible if we continue upon this course of action. And the positive thing, it's not, in our opinion, going to be, for instance, like the war on cancer, where you have hundreds of possible diseases that make up cancer. Brain death is a very well understood dynamic that has ultimately one sort of downward stream, and we've understood it very well. It's the reason 60 million of us a year leave this place. And ultimately, we understand a lot about what's involved, and so the steps to wind back the clock, let's say, are a lot more obvious, let's put it, than more complex degenerative diseases. So we think we have a pretty good chance, but it's not going to happen tomorrow.
So what do you think happens after death? Where does the consciousness go, in your opinion?
It's a question for the ages, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, putting a religious hat on the side for a moment, what do I believe? I believe that I believe very strongly in the electromagnetic field theories of consciousness, that consciousness is something that exists outside of the stuff sitting inside your skull. Whether that means it is goes into a fifth dimensional space or some component of space-time. I'm not a physicist. I can't. I read about theoretical physics and quantum physics and all sorts of other interesting dynamics for fun, but I don't have the answer for this one. But my personal belief is that it does indeed survive in some context. And look, one thing that this study will show, when we succeed, it will technically allow for a peek through the window. A peek through the window in the sense of bringing back someone who technically was there at that point. Now, we still have our work to do, but hopefully we'll have some answers. And if anything, this program is a way to help further elucidate what is behind that curtain.
So basically, there is some kind of life after death.
I believe so.
Are frogs the best way to get stem cells, and why frogs? What's this all about?
No, we don't get stem cells from frogs. We work with, on the peptide side, a species of a frog that has been around since the 1940s as part of regenerative biology and developmental biology research. What many of your listeners may not be aware of is that while cloning of species like sheep has been popular in the news for maybe the last couple decades, the original cloning experiments go back to the early 1950s using frogs. And what was discovered early on was that these frogs laid eggs in very large quantities that, from a biologic and biochemical perspective, were quite identical in their ability to reprogram and remodel tissue as human eggs were. The problem with human eggs is that human females, while they make them, they do not make many in the course of a lifetime. And to do research with human eggs putting aside human cloning for a minute, which is extremely controversial, but to work with human eggs is an extremely expensive endeavor. A single egg might cost you $10,000. Amphibians, specifically frogs, which have been industrialized by the pharmaceutical industry since the 1940s for this purpose, produce millions of eggs a year for decades at a time. And so they have allowed us to access not just to understand cellular processes, but then to blast them apart and start capturing the proteins and peptides and microRNAs that are inside them responsible for this biologic activity, and ultimately apply them, purify them, ultimately synthesize them for drug purposes. So if you think about the history of non-human biologic products, for everything from the original porcine insulin, to streptokinase kinase, to more recent blockbusters like Botox, these are all examples of non-human proteins that are used for human therapeutic purposes. So we are very focused not only on human stem cells, but on accessing peptides and biologic materials from these species that have regenerative capabilities and creating drug products out of them. Remember, majority of all drugs, not just biologics, majority of all drugs out there in the pharmaceutical industry today still come from non-human natural sources. Plants, fungi, bacteria, pigs. So our mantra is that nature has a lot more to teach us about health and resilience.
What can we do to help keep our adult stem cells healthy as possible? Is there anything we can do? Eat right or something?
That's an excellent question. I mean, I think from the perspective of longevity and their sort of healthiness in the stem cell niche, and we all maintain certain populations of stem cells in adult tissues for our lifetime. I think there is data in on things like exercise, on intermittent fasting, obviously diet, and sort of the appropriate control of environmental toxins and things like this, are the obvious things. But in general, it is a population of cells that over time declines. And so I cannot point to a specific intervention at this time. I can't say that taking large amounts of celery seed or drinking lots of red wine or anything of this nature specifically would be beneficial to stem cell longevity per se. I know there's a lot of supplement companies out there and so forth that promote those sort of stem cell enhancement nutraceuticals and things of this nature. I don't know if the science is totally there yet, or if there's a major consensus there on how that can be done today.
Are you guys governmentally funded or privately funded to do all this work?
No, today we are only privately funded. We are a private company located on the East Coast of the United States. Our investors are all private accredited investors from the East Coast. There is not at this point any institutional life science private equity in the company. We've not gone in that direction with this, trying to move the technology and the science forward as much as possible and try to avoid as much of that interference as possible.
Is it possible to keep people at a certain age for long periods of time?
That is a question for species in what we'll call the hydrozoan community, or the jellyfish community, because they are the only species on this planet today that is capable of turning back time and starting life over again at a younger age. And we are actively have an active program studying those dynamics. Is it possible today in humans to stall the aging process via everything we just spoke about? I think, you can, let's put it this way, it's easier to slow the decline by not smoking, by proper diet, by exercise, by intermittent fasting, and things of this nature. Whether that makes you biologically younger, at a cellular level, whether you can maintain 40 for at the point when you're 50, I don't think so yet. But there clearly are simple lifestyle choices that we can make nowadays to try to prevent that decline. But ultimately, we feel the answers are going to come from more complex interventions, and not just in stalling the inevitable, but in resetting age and starting to move.
How about calorie restrictions? Any effects on cell regeneration?
We don't spend much time on calorie restriction. Personally, I could never do it. I like to eat too much, but my understanding of the space is that it works pretty good with single cell organisms, and a little not so good when you get larger, and then when you get up to humans, there is some slight benefit, but I would put things like calorie restriction at the very sort of lower end of the curve for things that are ultimately going to answer the big question of age reversal and hyperlongevity. I know there are those that believe there are small molecule compounds, resveratrol, and others that may be able to sort of mimic some of the biologic pathways that are affected by caloric restriction. But once again, that's sort of still in the early stages. But look, I like to say you got balance, quality of life with everything you do in this space, and ultimately, my position is calorie restriction for someone like me that loves to eat. It would not be a great quality of life.
It would be if we could eat anything we want to. That would be wonderful, and not
that
worry.
would be nice. Yeah, that would be wonderful. And who knows? We may solve that problem down the road too.
But by trying to make ourselves younger and everything, and people that are dying, trying to save them, aren't we in effect trying to become gods ourselves?
Are we trying to become gods ourselves? I get the question about playing God, especially on the Reanima front, and I have to say, in the case of a family whose 16-year-old daughter flew off a motorcycle without a helmet on, to not do something because we're playing God, it doesn't ring to me. I mean, I don't think we're playing God. I think we're maybe helping out a little bit. And then, from the other perspective, look, from a religious angle, I cannot believe that God would put us in this sort of biologic Garden of Eden that we have in front of us today, with regenerating species, with species that can turn back time, with species that can cure themselves of cancer, even with organisms that can technically die and be reborn. I can't believe God would put us in this Garden of Eden and not ask us to explore it and understand it and use it. So I don't think we're God. I'm not God. But I think that there is these clues are there for us to understand and explore and improve ourselves and improve the lives of others.
If things don't work out, will you be creating zombies?
No, that's we get the zombie question a lot, obviously. The point to that is a much more of a Hollywood phenomenon than anything. No, the process that we are undertaking is very simplified compared to sort of the zombification technologies that are shown in films, whereby a mystical force somehow can reanimate somebody completely with full functionality and breathing, and yet a desire to eat human flesh. No. Ultimately, what we're doing is the very basic steps of neural and vascular regeneration in the lower brainstem, or the area that is typically responsible for independent breathing and heartbeat. That will not create a zombie, nor could it ever. Ultimately, what it could create is a patient that is no longer dead and is in a state of coma, which somebody might say is not a great quality of life, but our position is that dead is probably a worse quality of life than a coma, and that if the technology is there to be able to make that transition, the technologies are there to continue the process until what we'll call neural reanimation occurs. So we're fairly confident that the zombie apocalypse is not a component of this research.
Now,
I'll put it on the side for anyone interested. If anyone want to create zombies, there are plenty of hallucinogenic drugs and other things that can do that very easily for you nowadays. Forgetting, obviously, the people that are driving around with their cell phones.
Yeah, that's a whole different case over here. Do you think your work that you're doing is like one of a kind, or do you think there's the secret government black ops programs that are actually doing this without your knowledge that could be even more advanced?
Well, I've never worked for the government. I've rarely in previous business experience been involved in the government grant system. I'll speak more from the pharma industry angle that, to my knowledge, there is not a secret warehouse somewhere that contains the cures for all diseases that are being kept from the public. At least they haven't shown it to me, but I have to say, from that particular perspective, if there's such a warehouse that exists, it would probably be empty, based on what I was speaking about earlier, that the nature of the way technology ultimately is transitioned in this particular day and age in the life sciences. We are just not that advanced. Could there be applications in the military that are more advanced? I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Because occasionally we get the grants and the Department of Defense and so forth to come across our desk for battlefield related injuries and radiation-induced injury and so forth. And ultimately, you watch these and you see who ultimately wins them and the technologies that win the awards for the research, and they're just not very advanced. But can I vouch for any possible Black Ops program? No. Could there be something going on in Antarctica that we don't know about? Sure, but I can't say much more than that.
Wow, this is incredible. What are your thoughts about diseases like Zika, Ebola, H1N1? Do you think they're man-made in labs, man-made in military laboratories?
No. I'm not a big proponent of the belief that they were cooked up in laboratories. I do. I mean, if I may for a minute, and I think this is a very interesting area, not that of pathogenic viruses, but something that, once again, the public should be aware of. Most viruses on this planet are not pathogenic. In fact, without them, we wouldn't exist. Most viruses on this planet are pretty good. And sitting here today, I think the numbers around 8% of our DNA right now sitting here is virus. Without them, we would have not become what we are. So once again, I can't speak too much about the things that are beyond the scenes of normal people like me, but no, I think that viruses, just looking across species, are there. They've existed for a very long time. They're a very potent form of life. Technically, they're not even alive, but they have their role and their role in the evolutionary process. And yes, we should be very concerned about pathogenic viruses, whether natural or man-made. But at the same point, we have to have some reverence for the fact that they've allowed us to be who we are in today's day and age.
Do plants have stem cells, and are they studied?
Oh, but yeah, all species have stem cells of some sort. Yes, I believe there are companies out there that do study stem cells from plants for various purposes of producing large amounts of plants that are difficult to grow, and also for the culturing of plant natural products for herbal supplements and drug development and other areas that phytochemicals are useful for. Interestingly, the plant kingdom possesses very fascinating tumor reversion capabilities as well as some of the lower organisms. And it is one area that we have also taken a little bit of time to study in terms of the way that plants protect themselves specifically from cancer, but also infectious diseases. But I think the most interesting part of plants and plant stem cells ultimately is some of these trees and conifers and so forth that are, technically immortal in the sense that, 5,000, 10,000 years old that have been around a pretty long time. And studying them and understanding how and why they're so resilient will allow us to ultimately add to our understanding of that space.
Where will your clinic be in the USA? Any set place?
No, we don't have clinical capabilities in the United States today. We do collaborate with other clinics around the world right now in some different programs in Thailand, South Africa, Ukraine, Mexico, working within sort of the different regulatory systems that are out there to move some of these different programs forward. But most likely the United States program will be run through more traditional sort of contract research organizations. There's just so many, and it's a whole other industry of clinical research that has developed alongside the pharmaceutical industry for this specific purpose. So we do not see developing our own clinics in the United States.
Speaking of pharmaceutical companies, do you think Big Pharma is going to want to get involved in this? As soon as if money starts to be made, or there's a lot of stuff going on that people know about it?
Big Pharma, from my own experience, takes a very long time to get involved with anything that's cutting edge. And when they do, they typically all pile in, whether it's true or whether it's not. So I don't see them piling into cutting edge tools of this nature until they're very far advanced in the sense of making a decent amount of money. I mean, pharmaceutical companies, they don't invest in anything anymore, really. I mean, they invest in sales and marketing, and they invest in acquiring assets. Pharmaceutical companies used to put a lot of money into early R&D. They don't do that anymore. You go to one of these 10 largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, you can walk down the hallway in a research division, and there's really no one there anymore. So pharma companies typically wait a long time nowadays before they pick up some of the more cutting edge stuff. So could pharma companies down the road be our partner to market certain opportunities? Sure. But are they actively going to be involved? I don't think so at this earlier stage. But you never know.
When will you start working on your first patient?
Well, we have We have some different programs right now, primarily in the area of skincare research, where we are studying tolerability and safety in certain dermatological indications. As far as the Reanima project is concerned, that is a slightly different process, because unlike a cancer study or an Alzheimer's study, it's a different recruitment, and it's a whole different set of protocols we have to go through there, but probably before the end of this year.
So you found a patient already?
No, we're triaging them currently.
Okay. Is there prerequisite for patients?
Oh, in the Reanima project, yeah, I mean, it's we have to deal with families and a variety of consent rules. So it's a much longer process. There's a lot of education that goes on there, and understanding what that project is and what it is not. And so it's just take a little longer to do traditional recruitment. But we are gearing up, and we see 2017 getting a lot more active in the clinic, at least ex-US, in some of the other territories where we are going to be setting up manufacturing and clinical development, where the speed of getting into the clinic is a little faster than the US.
Do you guys have a website or a book for people to research into this and look into it?
Yeah, I mean, anyone come to BioQuark, BioQark.com. That is the core company that is involved with the basic bench research on these molecules. And there is also a sister company of ours called Regenerate that is more active in the aesthetic medicine space. And then the Reanima project, people can also go to that website. They can just Google all of this on the internet, and all of our websites come up and give a pretty broad overview on the different projects we're involved in. And most recently, we just got involved in a project here in the U.S. called Florist Organics, and this is sort of our first foray into the sort of cosmetological beauty care industry, where we'll be able to begin to apply some of these more complex mixtures and substances for skincare, spa use, purification, and so forth.
I have a question. Are you guys able to a brain that's like sort of like brain dead, and if you guys revive him and say he has a mental illness like anxieties, or not anxieties but like schizophrenia or bipolar, are you guys able to reverse that and cure the person?
Well, that's the nature of the peptide technologies that we're developing. So, yes, that is the ultimate goal. It is not just, obviously, the neuroregeneration part is one thing.
Right.
That is, we call that the small r. As sexy and interesting as the topic of regeneration is, it is still a small r. Repair, the big R, is the other side of the equation. And it's how, in certain diseases, as you just mentioned, whether you're talking schizophrenia or depression or obsessive compulsive disorder, or a range of things where you have some type of genetic or epigenetic damage that is causing that particular disease state to manifest, we can use these same technologies to erase that history and start over again in the development process. So yes, we think that that's going to be a key component and definitely a second win to this whole area on how we not only can regenerate tissues, but clean them up, clean up the genetic baggage that they come with from a lifetime of stress and damage and insults and what have you, and not only regenerate nervous tissue, but regenerate it in a rejuvenated state. And that is ultimately the holy grail of what we're doing in my opinion.
Final question. Do you think in the future people will not have to grow old? Will being old be considered a disease?
I think there's many out there that are trying to classify it as a disease nowadays, and I know there's all sorts of debates on that matter. Personally, I don't care if it's a disease or not, but yes, from our company's perspective and our research perspective, age is just a function of cellular regulatory state. If we can erase it and start from point A instead of point B, you are younger, biologically younger. Yes, we believe that there will be a time that aging, like any disease, whether it's Alzheimer's or breast cancer or type 2 diabetes, from a genetic perspective, from an epigenetic perspective, can be cleaned up, and that tissue can be you can start over again, just like species in the biologic world that do this every day. And once again, our goal, reignite these capabilities in humans, because somewhere along the evolutionary chain, we lost the capability, and we need to rediscover it.
And final, is there any final thoughts you want to tell us, like your website, anything, before we end the show tonight with having such a wonderful show?
I think that, as there is an underlying theme here of sort of aging and longevity and death, these are words that may be a little scary to some, a little earth-shaking, but ultimately the goal is healthy longevity. When we see somebody not at 100 that is frail and old, with all the diseases of chronic older age, but a vibrant individual at that age. And we believe the ultimate control mechanisms are there. Nature has shown us the way and show us clues all around us if we just appreciate it. And we can learn, once again, go back to nature, understand it, and ultimately apply it for these purposes in humans. And we're very excited about this program.
Yeah, and one final question that just came in now before I let you go. Sorry about that. What are your thoughts on? Oh, okay. What are your thoughts on vaccines? Good thing or bad?
Very controversial area. Personally, I love getting vaccinated. I prefer not to have some of these infectious diseases that used to be a death sentence a couple hundred years ago. But I do understand completely the many cases out there that of people that are very hesitant, whether it has to do with the vaccine, whether it has to do with an ingredient or a preservative or what have you. I can't say they're good or bad. Personally, my own personal choice and for my family's choice, I don't want my kids getting some of these diseases, and so I go on the side of getting vaccinated.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ira, for coming on our show tonight. It's been wonderful. We had a wonderful time. It's been a pleasure. I mean,
it was a pleasure. I really appreciate the questions. They were great questions. I wish I got more love these. But I really appreciate them.
All right. So it's been great having you on the show. Hopefully we'll have you on the show sometime in the future. And thank you for coming on our MnRTV show.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you. Very, very interesting show we had on tonight, folks. I mean, bringing people back from being brain dead and trying to make them younger. I mean, that's fascinating when you think about it. Now, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, that's, I was just like trying to grasp all the information thrown at me and my brains, because my brains definitely do need stem cells at this point because there's just too much to grasp.
Well, I think sometimes I'm missing a few brain cells or screws, whatever they say, and sometimes I forget. Sometimes I wish I could get it because sometimes in my mind I forget all kinds of stuff. But maybe that's part of getting old.
Yeah, we are getting old. I mean, look, another few more years, we're almost 50. Where wild times is flying so fast. Next thing you know, we'll be 60. Then we definitely need brain cell, stem cells everywhere.
That is kind of scary, getting older and older. But we can't do anything about it, at least not yet, unless until when BioCorp might one day have the answer to this.
As long as it does, as long as it has nothing to do with chips, I'm okay with that. Like, and chipping stuff into
Yes, for sure.
our right hand or our forehead, I'm okay with this company.
Exactly. So, any final thoughts, Mario, before we end the show for tonight?
No final thoughts. I mean, I'm glad we're back. We'll be back next week, unless if the crash comes falling, you know, the economical crash that they keep saying, because you know,
They've been saying it and saying it and saying it for a long, long time.
who? Me?
Not you, they.
Okay, I heard you've been saying it. Yeah, I mean,
Hey.
but you know, I mean, from what I'm hearing, things aren't looking good. The economy. I mean, they say it looks good, but that's mainstream media says it's going to look good. So maybe the economy also will need stem cells because it's not doing so well, right?
Yeah, no, I was just reading something in the chat room.
Yeah, the chat room's very alive today.
I know, and don't forget, there was also on the YouTube, we had a guest that was, I mean, we had a viewer that was in the chat room.
Yeah, so I saw that. I was seeing. I was like, "Who are you typing to?" You know, and
I'm typing away. I was typing away, and then I was doing the interview, and then I was getting text messages about the show. You know, people were getting excited, so I was doing like 4 or 5 things at once, and I'm surprised my brain was able to handle it tonight. I guess because I was calm, and I did like 5 different things, which sometimes doing 2 things sometimes for me is kind of iffy. You know, who knows? But that's it for this week.
But anyhow, we'll be back next week.
That's right. So we'll be back next week, God willingly, with another great guest. You won't want to miss next week's show because we're going to get a new guest that hasn't been on our show yet. So, folks, thank you for watching. Share this show because we want everybody to know about what is going on. And it's wonderful about what Ira is trying to do for the community and the world. All right. So till next week, folks, have a good night or a good day, wherever you may be. God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you very much. Goodbye.